Hi, my name is Brandy. I teach yoga, and today I'm going to bring you my morning routine. I do this every morning, so we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. I like to begin on my back, flat on my back, and I like to do back stretches first. So that's where we're going to start today. I bring my knees into my chest, both my knees, and I take both of my hands, pull my knees into my stomach, or pull the top of my thighs into my stomach, and I just rotate them around. And the reason I do this is, if you really pay attention, I'm massaging my spine on my mat. I take it the other way. No specific amount, just what feels good. I go into happy baby pose, and mind you, a lot of these moves are yoga inspired, but I've just kind of mixed them up with things that I do as well, that I've learned over time. And so I move into happy baby pose, and it's no specific order. I like to do these in. Some days I feel like doing one, and then some days I feel like doing another. But these are my basic moves that I do first thing in the morning. Like I said, happy baby pose, spreading my knees, keeping the inside of my feet together. I take both my hands, take them in between my knees, and I grab the outer edges of my feet. I spread my feet wide, and the sole of my feet are toward the ceiling. As my feet are turning toward the ceiling, I pull my tailbone down, and as I rotate my tailbone down, I gather my shoulder blades and I relax them down as well. So relaxing my tailbone and relaxing my shoulders down puts a lot of pressure in between my hip flexors. So it's stretching my hip flexors a lot. So it's almost like I'm pulling my feet down, but not really. And here again, I like to rotate. I like to go side to side, and that's massaging my spine as well. I try to be mindful of my breathing. No specific amounts on these as well, just for a couple seconds, what feels good. I release my feet, bring both of my knees in together, pull them in again. Next, I relax my right leg down, and I'll rotate my left knee in as well. And see, now this is another hip flexor stretch or massage as well. But if you notice, you can bring your knee in a little bit more than with both of my knees bent. I'll relax my left hand down beside me, and I'll take my right hand and I'll place it on the outside of my left knee. I place the inside of my right foot inside of my left foot inside of my right knee. And I'll take my right hand, bring my right knee up and across my body, and I look over to the left. And again, being mindful of my breathing. As I inhale, my left knee comes up, and as I exhale, my left knee will lower a little bit more. To come out of this, and I don't do it a specific amount of times, but 10 to 15 seconds is good. I'll release my right hand from my left knee, inhale my left knee up and across my body, and relax that leg down. I'll inhale my right knee into my chest and grab with both hands, pulling my right knee into my body and rotating it around. I take the inside of my right foot inside of my left leg, taking my left hand, placing it on the outside of my right knee, relaxing my right hand down, pulling it across, then glancing over to the right. And you'll be able to notice more here how when I inhale, my knee goes up, and when I exhale, it goes down a little bit more. relax my left hand over, inhale my right knee up and across my body. I'll keep my right knee bent, and I grab behind my right knee. I extend my leg and I release my leg, but I flex my toes toward my face and my right leg. Now your knee might be here, it might be here, but this should just feel like a nice stretch. It shouldn't be painful whatsoever. So if it's painful, just back off. Eventually you'll get it where it's straightened. I flex my toes toward my face, and I take my attention to my left toes and I flex those towards my face as well. I take my hands behind my head and I raise my head up off of my mat. I tuck my navel down toward my spine. I'm not holding my breath, but I am tucking that core, keeping my core engaged. So this just warms up the core just a little bit. Inhaling my left leg up to meet my right. I'll exhale my right leg down. Inhale it up. Exhale it down. And I just repeat. Be mindful to keep your toes flexed and your core active, keeping your elbows off of your mat, maintaining your gaze toward the ceiling. Try not to tuck your chin down. On the last one, I exhale my leg down. I stay here, I take an inhale. And then I exhale my other leg down. Keeping my head up, inhale. Then I relax my head and my arms down. I take my arms down by my side, and it's nice to keep a nice flow. I don't necessarily go in an order, but I do like to just flow, and that's typical vinyasa flow. So that's why I say I don't have a necessary an order, but I do like to flow from one move to the next. So as I release my hands down beside me, I come into bridge pose. So I'll bend my knees again. And you want your feet, your heels close to the glutes, almost where the tip of your fingers meet the back of your heel. If it doesn't get there, that's totally fine. That's just the goal that you're going for. You want your knees about hip width distance apart. And again, I don't know if I said it, we'll be doing bridge pose. So bridge pose, you bring your glutes up in the air. Now, you necessarily don't want to clench your glutes. You want to raise from the top of your thighs, but that takes time, and over time you'll learn. So just be mindful, you're raising from the tops of your quads and not your glutes. So you want to relax your glutes as much as you possibly can. If you're here, this is totally fine. If you want more, I usually rotate my shoulder blades underneath my body, and I grab my hand underneath myself. Now here I try not to look left or right because this is a lot on the neck, and I super glue the back of my head on my mat, and I try to raise up a little bit more. Again, trying not to clench my butt cheeks and raising through the top of my quads. Remember to breathe. Stay here about 10 to 15 seconds. Come back. I like to come back where I started, so I'll undo my hands, undo my shoulder blades, and I rotate one vertebrae at a time and lower back down on my neck. Lower back down on my back. So this is just using some self-control, some body control to rotate instead of just flopping down. In most yoga poses, you never want to just flop down. You want to use some kind of self-control and ease out of each posture or move. That's what I've learned in yoga. On my next step, I like to come from off of my back. I have two ways, just depending on the day. I either rotate on one side and push myself up, or I take both knees into my chest and I'll rock myself up into a seated position. And some days it'll take more than one rock, some days it's just one rock. It just depends on the morning. So I'll do some more warm up. I like to do log pose, that's one of my favorite. So in order to come there, your shin needs to be parallel to the edge of your mat. Flex your toes towards your knees. And then the flexing of my foot is protecting my knee. And then the next move, take my other foot and place it on top of the opposite knee and flex those toes as well. So, and hence why it's called log pose, because your legs look like balls. I don't know the Sanskrit comparable word for this, but you get the drift. So again, this is another hip flexor massage movement. So you can either go forward or back, but I found for me, just giving a nice push down in my knee gives me the nice flexion I need. But going back is really good, and going forward. I just release both of my feet out in front of me so I can do the opposite side. I'll tap my knees, the back of my knees on the ground, and I'll rotate my feet just to get the blood circulating again. And we'll just do the opposite side. So take the opposite leg, shin parallel to the edge of your mat, flex that foot, take the opposite foot, flex it towards your knee. There you are, and same thing. And again, I'll repeat this. In the morning, I don't necessarily have how many I do or time frame I do. I just do what feels good for me and what my time allows me to do. But if you're new to yoga, definitely give yourself a time frame. It's better to say, okay, I'll just do this for 10 seconds or I'll just do this for 15 seconds. That's what I did when I first started. I would follow along and have some type of, either I do the move 10 times or I do it for 15 seconds or I do it for 30 seconds. So I give myself a goal in each move. But now I just do it to how it feels, if it feels good to me. Coming out of this move, relaxing your legs out, tapping the backside of my legs on the ground, rotating my feet. And this is definitely good for your ankles and your knees, this right here. All right, and then the next move I'll do, I'll just bring my legs into cross leg position. You don't necessarily need to put a heel on top of any knee. But I take both of my hands, take them behind me. You want your fingertips pointing towards you to do this. And raising both legs. Another hip flexor, but this is also a core workout. So raising my legs up. And then I remember that my left leg was down under my right leg, so I'll swap it this time and go back into cross leg position. I didn't swap it that time, but you catch the drift. And again, we'll do this a few times. And then eventually, you'll be able to do this with no hands. Had a little trouble there. And after this, I usually work into some standing positions. So to work into standing, I'll start off in hands and knees, and I ease my workout, my Vinyasa yoga inspired workout. I ease it into standing. I don't necessarily go from one pose and then up to standing. And how I like to do that, I start off with hands and knees. And you want to make sure your shoulders are right above your wrist. You want your 10 fingers spread very, very wide, toes untucked, nice flat back. I'll do a few more stretches. Just, you ease into, the thing I like about yoga, you ease into your workout. It doesn't start off strenuous, it doesn't end strenuous. It's right there in the middle of your workout where it gets intense. So I do what is considered cat-cow pose. So I lower my head down, lower my tailbone down, but I arch my back up, spreading my shoulder blades away from each other. And I do this on an exhale. And then I do cow pose, and you raise your head up, raise your tailbone up, and do that on an inhale. I find my vinyasa, so exhale. Cow pose, I push my shoulder blades away from my ears. Coming back to neutral. So the neutral position is just a nice flat back, still with my toes untucked. I'll raise my left hand like I'm about to shake somebody's hand, and I'll stretch my backside. So I'll work into stretching my backside. I'll raise my left hand out, raise my right leg out, and I flex my toes toward my face, but I kick through my heel to raise that right leg up a little bit more. You raise your right hand up a little bit more, keeping a slight bend in your right hand. Put a lot of weight into the right arm. So that's your balancing arm. On my exhale, just like on the cat pose, I'll exhale, but I'll bend my left hand and bend my right knee in to meet. And arch my back up. Inhaling it out. Exhale. Again, placing everything down, using some self-control. You don't want to just flop down. Even if it's a lot of weight in your arm. And I push back into child's pose. I like to do child's pose when I need to rest my arms or rest for a while, if something's getting a little bit intense. So to push back in child's pose, I use my fingertips to push my hips onto my heel, and I relax my head down. Some people can get their forehead on their mat. If you can't on that particular day, that's okay. Use your fists, use your forearms, or if you can, relax your head onto your mat. I like to inhale to come out of child's pose into hands and knees. And I work onto the other side. So raising my right hand, raising my left foot, flexing my toes toward my face. Exhale, bend it all in. Inhale. I'm pretty anal, so I like to do the same amount on one side, the same amount of reps or whatever I did to one side, I like to do the same amount on the other side. So since I stayed up a little longer on that side, I'm staying up a little on this side. That just creates balance for me, balance within my body. Bring it all down, and I push back into child's pose. This time, instead of keeping my knees together, I'll keep my ankles together, but I'll spread my knees. So keeping your knees together, you get a nice upper back stretch, but spreading your knees, you get a nice lower back stretch. And I walk my hands forward until I'm all the way down where my head can come down on my mat. And then I push through my fingers, the tips of my fingers, to push my waist onto my heels a little bit more. Because doing this, you remain active. You're resting, but you're remaining active. Inhaling back into hands and knees. I'll work into downward facing dog. So to get into downward facing dog for me, I like to have my shoulders above my wrists, fingers spread very, very, very wide. I'll tuck my toes and I raise off of my knees first. And then I push my head down. Now, my legs can straighten a little bit more because I've already had my morning workout today. But if this is your first downward facing dog ever, first downward facing dog for the week, first downward facing dog for the day, or first downward facing dog for just this workout, push, flex your legs a little bit just to loosen them up, get all the kinks out. We've sat, been cross-legged for a minute on our knees. In downward facing dog, make sure you tuck your navel towards your spine. That protects your spine. Keeping a lot of weight in all 10 of your fingers and in the palm of your hands. And then keeping your knees bent, and then bring your heels down. Don't straighten your legs and then try to get your heels down. Bend your knees first. Pull through your heels, and that's where you'll get the perfect straightened leg, or quote unquote straightened leg for you. It shouldn't be painful, but downward facing dog is a very active pose, so just get used to this feeling, okay? And try to remember to breathe. We'll come back down into hands and knees, and then push back into child's pose. Like I said, I like to push into child's pose just to rest my arm if I've been staying up on my arm, if I'm following somebody else's workout, or if I'm at a workout class and I've just been sitting on the palms of my hand a long time. I like to push back into child's pose just to give my arms a rest. So either with my knees together or apart, just depends on how I feel. Inhale back into hands and knees. We'll work back into downward facing dog. Tucking toes. Keeping knees bent. Then push down into heels, then straighten leg. So as we work into standing, the next move that I like to do to work into standing, I'll glance up at the top of my mat, bend my knees a lot, and baby step my feet up to meet the ends of my hand, the back of my hands, so I can move into Uttanasana. So Uttanasana is basically, I'm saying Sanskrit names, is a forward fold. Bend your knees a lot. Again, if this is the first forward fold of the day, of this session, this week, this month, first time ever, bend your knees a lot to get your stomach onto your thighs. If you're having a lot of lower back pain, heel toe your feet out and spread your legs. But bend your knees a lot, okay? Lower your head down. Relax all of your head down. You want to get your head as close to the ground as possible. I'm going to heel toe my feet back together. If you're not having a lower pain, I suggest doing it with your feet together. You relax your hands. You can either relax your hands down to your mat, you can relax them on your shins, or you can relax by grabbing both elbows with opposite hands. But the main point is you want to relax your head down. Keeping your heels on your mat. If I want to get a deeper fold, I kind of fall into my toes like I'm trying to come up on my tiptoes, but I keep my heel on my mat when I do that. When I'm ready to come out of Uttanasana or this forward or the forward fold, I'll place my hands down on my mat, but if you're a beginner, I suggest you put it on your shin. You can anywhere between your knees and your ankles, and you glance up and push your shoulders away from your ears, glance up as much as you possibly can, and then come back down. You don't want your blood rushing or you get lightheaded because your blood is rushing back down once we come all the way up. So beginners, here, pushing your shoulders away, but I like to do it where I take my palms and I come up to the tip of my fingers and I glance up and relax back down, and I rotate up one vertebra at a time. So I pretend like I'm trying to look at my navel and my chin is in my chest, and I rotate one vertebrae at a time with my arms dangled, keeping my shoulder blades high up on my ears, and my head is the last thing that comes up. Shoulders up, and then the head is up, and rotate your shoulder blades down. So, standing pose or mountain pose, Tadasana is the Sanskrit word, or the Sanskrit differentiation. You pull through your fingertips, pulling your shoulder blades down away from your ears, and you tighten your triceps and your biceps, and you pull down. Now, for Tadasana, everything on the front side goes up and everything on the back side goes down. So what I mean by that is you pull your kneecaps up, you pull the tops of your quads up, you pull your tailbone up and down but up toward the front. Stick your chest up. You want your ears to pull back to the back of the room. Shoulder blades going down. As you pull your shoulders down, your shoulder blades are going down. Tailbone going down, heels going down. This is very, very, very active. If you stand in mountain pose long enough, you'll sweat. Don't forget to breathe. And here, this varies for me, just depending, like any of my moves, it just depends on how I'm feeling for that day. Some days I'll stand here 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll breeze through this. So just remember to breathe and remain active. So all you want to do is be present and pull your muscles up in the front and pull your muscles down in the back. So try to be very present here so you can remain active. When I'm ready to come out, I will inhale my hands up to the top of my head, palms meeting. Now here, keeping my shoulder blades away from my ears is very different. Clasping my hands to get a nice side stretch, I'll inhale my hands up, but I'll exhale, I'll just bend over to my right side or my left side, just depends. I'm going to the right this time. Pushing your shoulder blades away from your ears, get a nice stretch on your left hand side. And then inhale up to the center. Exhale over to the right. Over to the left. And then find my vinyasa here. So I'll just breathe. And exhale over. Inhale up. Exhale over to the left. Up. And then I'll exhale to the back. Pushing my shoulder blades away from my ears, I'll relax my head down. Inhale up. And I'll exhale, fold forward. So I'll bend my knees, keeping my hands together, bend my elbows, flat back. Palms back down on my mat or grabbing my shoulders. And you breathe. To come out of this, I do another half lift. So shin or on your mat. Exhale, come down. I take another breath here. And then I exhale, move into plank pose. So, plank pose is just like tabletop. Take your feet all the way back. If you have trouble with your upper arm, when I first started, my upper arm wasn't as strong enough to do plank pose. So a nice variation for me was, and sometimes I still do a nice variation. If I did an arm day the day before, my arms are really sore, just depending on how my day was. Or is before I did my yoga, I'll do here, and you basically make sure your feet are untucked, your toes are untucked, and you don't want to be in hands and knees. You do want to have a nice flat back. So for this moderation or variation, you still want to tuck your tailbone, push your shoulder blades away from your ears, and you'll still get the same upper body workout as if you were in plank pose. For me, plank pose, I like to come up, make sure my shoulder blades are above my wrist, pushing back into my heels. I'll tuck my tailbone in, push my shoulder blades away from my ears, and try to imagine a nice line from the top of my head down to my heels. Don't forget to breathe. And this warms you up a lot staying here. Either variation, come all the way down. Use self-control and come all the way down on your mat. So hugging your shoulder blades against your rib cage, come all the way down. Now, if you were in the first variation that I showed you here, same thing. Everything, use a lot of self-control to get everything down at the exact same time. So hugging my shoulder blades against my rib cage, coming down. And that's coming down on an exhale. I'm gonna slide up, coming off my mat. I find myself coming off my mat all the time. So you want your hands still where they were. I moved because I had to come up, but you want to keep your hands where they were when you came down out of the first or second variation of plank pose. Keeping your toes untucked. Peel your chest. I like to peel my chest off of my mat. Looking down at my mat, relaxing my glutes. So it's a little bit of weight in my fingertips if my glutes are relaxed. Everything in my posterior chamber is active in this pose right here. And I relax it back down. I bring it back up once more. And I relax it back down. I push myself into hands and knees. This is a simple variation. So I push myself back into hands and knees, walking my knees up, and I work myself back into downward facing dog. So tucking my toes, raise up off of my knees first, push my butt up, pushing my hips up, relaxing my heels down as I keep my knees bent, okay? And push through your fingertips to lower your head down onto your mat. I glance up at the top of my mat, come up high on my tiptoes, bend my knees, walk myself into Uttanasana. Fold forward. Inhale, tuck my chin, rotate one vertebrae at a time. Exhale, rotate my shoulder blades down the back of my body, pulling through my fingertips into standing. Everything on the front, it goes up. Everything on the back goes down. Inhaling, both my hands up, palms meet at the top. Exhale, bend my knees a lot, come into forward fold. So nice flat back, palms still together. Palms on my shins. Push up and halfway lift, glance up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, relax my head down. Exhale, come into plank pose. Or the first variation that I showed you on your knees. Here, back into plank pose. Exhale, come all the way down. Relax my feet, the top of my feet down on the top of my mat, the top of my feet on the top of my mat. And if you notice, that was just a little bit faster. So each move during sun salutation, and I didn't mention that was sun salutation, you move on the breath. Inhale, exhale for each move. Here, you inhale, pull your chest up off of your mat. Exhale, bring it down. Here, what I like to do, I'll take both of my hands, relax them down beside me. I bring my palms up toward the ceiling. Some people like to have them down, and I'll show you that variation. But with the palms up, we're gonna I like to raise everything up off of my mat, just to get another back stretch, and raising everything off of my mat, glancing down at my mat, but keeping a nice flat neck in the back of my neck. You don't want to crunch, okay? So keeping a nice flat neck, I'll raise everything above my mat. So the only thing that's on my mat is from here to here. And eventually it'll be more off the mat, and I relax it down. I do those a couple of times because it's a nice back stretch, and not a lot of times during the day I'm doing that type of back stretch. So I love getting those in because so much of the time we're hunched over, and a lot of things like driving or at your desk or such things like that. Again, inhale everything up, or as much up as you possibly can get up. Breathing through it. And on an exhale, relax it all down. Now, I was going to show you the variation with the hands down. So, palms down, same thing. You push through the palms to get everything up off your mat. So, depending on what you like to do, either one of them are totally fine. We'll work back into a forward fold. So, push back into hands and knees. And this is my morning workout, so I like to keep it light and simple because I don't want to overdo it. I have the whole day to do more workout, to do other yoga poses, and to just do regular day things. So what I like to do is tuck my toes, push up off of my knees, push my hips up into the air, lower my shin, I keep saying I'm sorry, lower my heels down first to straighten my legs. So you keep your knees bent and lower. So mine seems a little bit straighter because I do it a lot. So if your knees are bent a lot, that is okay. Again, the backs of your legs, it shouldn't feel painful, but it should feel like a nice stretch and active. So glance up at the top of your mat. Bend your knees a lot. Baby step your way. Uttanasana. Relax your head down. Here, I heel toe my feet out into about hip width distance apart. I come up high on my tiptoes and lower my hips down to my heels. My hands between my legs, and I come back into a seated position. I love forward folds, so I love to put in a forward fold, a seated forward fold. So to get into that seated forward fold, I pull my knees into close as I can to my chest. Nice flat back here. Taking both hands, grabbing the outside edges of my feet. Baby step my feet out. Still a nice flat back, pushing my shoulders away from my ears. If your legs are here, that is totally fine. Just try to maintain that nice flat back. You see, I keep being mindful of it. So with consistency and persistency and dedication, eventually your legs will be flat. And then sometimes, some days it'll not be flat, sometimes it will, just depending on what you've done for the day. Try to remember, I like to point my chest toward my toes. So I point my chest towards my toes instead of hunching in. Now, I understand you get closer, but you get a better stretch because you don't want to dump in. I get a better stretch if I push my chest toward my toes. I release my feet, pushing my chest away from my thighs. I'll slide up because again, I come off my mat. I'm just so flow. I flow right off my mat. I work back onto my back. So to do that, I like to use my core instead of just falling back and using other muscles. So I ground my heels into my mat and try to keep as much of my leg on my mat as I rotate down onto my mat. Here, I bring my knees into my chest again, pulling them as close as I possibly can. I try to hug my knees into my chest. Here, I rotate my tailbone down, but as I rotate my tailbone down, I relax my shoulder blades down. This is a wind pose, and just be careful here. Here also, just to let you know, I also tuck my navel down into my spine. I'm not holding my breath, but I am tucking my navel down. Super glue the back of your head onto your mat. Breathe. when I'm ready to come out of this pose, I take a nice inhale and I squeeze. As I hold that inhale in, squeeze, hug it in, but I pull everything down and then I release it out. I take my heels to the corner of my mat to enter into Savasana, but right before Tadasana, I like to do what I consider like a anger relieving workout for me. So I get all of my aggression out first thing in the morning before I talk to anyone, before I eat or anything like that. That's why I like to work out first thing in the morning, because you hold these poses and you're holding so much in, and then you get to release it out through this strenuous workout. So last thing I do before Savasana, I gather all of my strength and I pull and I clench everything that I possibly can. I'm not going to do it on camera just because it's not very viewer friendly, but you pull everything in, you grit your teeth, you clench your eyeballs, you clench your thighs, you clench your toes, you pull everything really, 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 really tight, and you hold that as long as you possibly can, and you just release. And you just let it all go. Depending on when you like to do this, it is so good, because if you do it in the morning, you get all that pent-up aggression out. But if you decide to do it in the afternoon, all of that, those things that you've taken in, you get to relieve that. And then at night is even better, because you get to take all of your day in aggression and you think about it, you pull it in, you reel it in, and then you just let it go. That's any simple problem in anything in life. You take it in and you let it go, and that's that. So and then to enter into Savasana, I like to just relax down. I recommend that every yoga session, every workout session, you enter into Savasana, which is corpse pose, because what it does for me, it just relaxes my body before I get up and enter to the rest of my day, especially in the morning, or if you're doing it at night. It just relaxes your body from a strenuous workout before you go to bed. So it just brings you back into center and brings you back out of yoga mode or workout mode or fitness mode or exercise mode, and it just brings you back into, okay, I'm here, I'm present. So say all that to show you, bringing my heels to the corner of my mat, relaxing my hands down with the palms facing the ceiling, and I just breathe. I take inhales in, and as I take an inhale, it's always inhale and exhale through my nose when I'm working out. But I inhale through my nose, and as I'm inhaling, I push my diaphragm down. But if you could visualize your lungs when you inhale, filling up with air. So I visualize my lungs going up and out. So out here, up here, out here, down here, and pushing my diaphragm down. But that's what I visualize as I'm filling up my lungs to the max capacity. And then as I exhale, I just relax everything down. But I just try to visualize that to keep myself present in the moment, instead of thinking about what I'm about to do for the rest of the day. But that's what I like to do, just to remain in the moment as I am doing Savasana. Other than that, I depend on what I want to do. I'll either rotate on one side, push myself up, or I'll bring my knees up into my chest to rotate out of it. But I highly, highly recommend, after every type of fitness routine, that everyone does Savasana, regardless of if it is a yoga inspired workout or a yoga session. I highly recommend that. So with that being said, namaste.